Hey everyone, today we're looking at a question I've been asked a lot, which is if the characters actually enjoy the trials. This is an interesting question, I think, with the characters of the realm all having very different motivations, which will ultimately change whether the characters really want to be there or not, and if they're even enjoying their time there. Our first category, or tier, straight up not having a good time. Trapper does not like the realm at all, and we know from many cutscenes that he actively fights back against the entity, and disobeys it, with it reminding him of his father. Beneath the smiling mask, Evan has a stern expression, and isn't all too happy about being in the realm it seems, despite his violent tendencies. Bubba is having a really terrible time in the realm. He's only serving the entity because he greatly fears it. Its presence alone making him fall in line. I really don't think Bubba enjoys it though, likely finding the trials quite stressful. Wraith is a character that's largely a shell of his former self, but I think still has enough humanity left that he doesn't actively enjoy what he's doing. He's just more defeated by the constant pressure of the entity and has given in to being in the trials. The entity stalked him throughout his life and caused him lots of pain, so despite not liking it, I think he's kind of just given in at this point. Nurse is another of the more human characters within, and so likely does feel guilty about what she's doing. This dislike of the trials is furthered by the fact that to use her power she has to suffer considerable pain when blinking, which likely doesn't make the trials all too good either. Next up, does not enjoy the realm. Spirit seemingly doesn't enjoy the trials, but maybe not to the same extent as others, with her mainly being driven by rage. Based on her expressions, she does have humanity left, so likely doesn't agree with what she's doing, with her only doing it due to the overwhelming anger she has and the entity's encouragement of it. Plague, I think, is on the lower enjoyment side of things. She's only doing all this to begin with, presumably because she thinks she's saving her people. She seems notably frustrated when she gets stunned, and likely just feels a bit out of place within the realm, with a bunch of people she doesn't understand the language of, kicking strange objects she has no idea the function of. Oni is pretty angry, and despite loving violence, I don't think is having a good time. He's constantly forced into looking like an Oni, which he hates, and he's burdened with the knowledge that he's likely responsible for his family's downfall, leading to his overwhelming anger in the trials. Before we go further, I'd like to talk to you about G Fuel. G Fuel is a game-changing energy drink. All G Fuel products are sugar-free, from energy tubs to cans, with a range of over 50 flavors. I recently tried the Resident Evil flavor, Maiden's Blood, which has quickly become my new favorite. G Fuel has done many collaborations with different brands, meaning there's something you'll surely love. You can use code AZHY at gfuel.com for 20% off your order, link below. Nemesis, I get the impression, actually isn't that big a fan of the realm. It seems a bit beneath him, and he's been nerfed so heavily, slowed down and stripped of his weapons, that I think he won't be quite vibing with the realm like many of the others would. Knight, I think, seems to actually not enjoy the realm, and is quite disappointed by it in the end, despite maybe initially seeming pretty up for it. In the realm he faces no challenge and gets pallets constantly dropped on him. The people who are enjoying it are his guards, who seem to be having a pretty good time. Singularity, I actually think, would be leaning on the side of dislike, having to chase after humans who he views as worms. Getting hit by a flashlight or pallet would likely annoy him a lot and go against his feeling of superiority, making the realm not the best place to be. Have little to no opinion. Myers is a character who sort of just kills because he's evil and lacks any clear motive, which makes me think he probably is fairly unopinionated on his time in the trials, simply doing what he does. Demogorgon as an animal likely isn't too opinionated either on what's happening, and is just happy to roam around and do as it's told. Prior to this, it was controlled by a hive mind after all. Xenomorph is a similar deal, I think. It kind of just goes into survival mode, and is likely doing its thing regardless of emotions or any feelings towards what's happening. It wants to survive, and wants the Xenomorphs to survive, so does the trials. Executioner is doing his job seemingly, and so I don't think he has much of an opinion on the realm and the trials. Blight, I think, is probably less focused on the realm and the trials, but instead on Orange Plant and where to find it. His mind seems pretty warped, and so I think the trials themselves will just be a means to an end to get more serum. twins, despite doing what they had to out of necessity, I don't think will enjoy or not enjoy their time in the realm. Victor is alive and back, which is good, but they're also under danger still, and Charlotte in particular is very protective over Victor, who can now be kicked. This, I think, would result in a fairly balanced experience for them. Dredge's opinion, I imagine, comes down to its desire to grow its mass, and so is content with the realm in that sense, but likely not enjoying it in the human way we understand. Mostly enjoying their time. Artist in her current state, despite having an innocent past, seems quite angry and motivated to catch the survivors in the realm. She has angry sounding caws and screeches and seems generally irked about anyone that comes near her. Billy is an unfortunate case of becoming monstrous as a result of his environment. However, it's resulted in him kind of loving the whole murder thing, which isn't the best. In the realm, I think he's enjoying himself and likely the freedom he has across the different realms. Huntress is a character that may initially seem like she would enjoy the realm. However, I've always gotten the impression that she only really does what she does out of originally necessity to survive, and now in servitude to the entity. She's definitely a good hunter, but I think she finds the whole process quite annoying. Regardless though, I do think she's mostly enjoying hunting in the trials, with her happy lullaby chuckles referencing this. Freddy is a massive creep, and likely enjoys the realm. He has his weird chuckles and ho-hos and stuff, and so he seems to be enjoying the realm and what it has to offer. Maybe he's a little salty about getting nerfed, but I think overall he's having a good time. Hag may seem like a case where she wouldn't enjoy it due to being one of the more human characters. However, she seems quite overtaken by the entity. The end of her lore states a dark hunger stirred inside of her. Pig I do think would be having a good time. She's a fan of rigging the traps, and in the realm she has been able to do that at multiple points, like when she could body block the last key location. The timers in the realm also seem much shorter than in the film, which is probably something she likes. The main drawback for her I think would be the feeling that she's failing Jigsaw, and is on the wrong path, something she would always question. Deathslinger I think would enjoy the realm despite his reservations and regrets. He's at a point now where he's in a bit too deep to go back, and he seems to be somewhat accepting of that. In the realm he has his creepy chuckle and is generally pretty brutal and sadistic with the way he goes about things. I imagine he's largely enjoying himself despite his feelings before leaving. Cenobite clearly does enjoy the realm and getting to repeatedly say his "I came" line. However, I do think the realm is lacking one aspect that the Cenobites like, which is pleasure as well as pain. The realm, I would say, lacks pleasure in the sense they seek, and so I think they wouldn't fully enjoy it. Sadako, I think, is mainly getting some enjoyment because she's not stuck in a well like she has been for the past few decades, which has got to be an improvement. She's also very angry because of this, and so likely is relieved to let it out. Wesker seems to mostly be having a good time, styling on the regular humans with his fancy Ouroboros. However, I don't think he's quite in the top tier because his whole global saturation plan didn't quite come to fruition, which I imagine he's a little irked about. Skull Merchant is pretty sadistic and so is likely pretty down with the realm and the trials as a whole. However, I think she isn't quite in her element, with her usually hunting down CEOs and taking over companies. The realm is quite a step down from her work before, and on a much smaller scale, where much of her wealth and power doesn't matter. I think she likes the tracking and chase side, but maybe not the overall picture. Chucky definitely seems to be in his element and having a good time. He's basically non-stop talking and wants the survivors to know he's coming. His Mori also makes out like he's having a lot of fun. Basically everything about him seems to focus on these elements. Doctor, with his crazed laughs and general enjoyment of all things sadistic, is most definitely enjoying himself and his role within the realm. It's maybe a little bit down to the constant flow of electricity coursing through his system, but it's also him a lot too, I think. Clown is one of the more sadistic characters, and most definitely likes the realm, with him no longer even required to really work for his kills, as they're all trapped within a small area for him to utilize, unlike before, where a threat of being caught was there. Ghostface definitely enjoys the trials. He has a pose in the lobby that makes him look like he's laughing to himself. His Mori has him taking selfies with the survivors. He's clearly having fun fun. Legion seem to be enjoying the realm too. Even the more innocent seeming characters like Susie is smiling maniacally beneath her mask. They seem to think they have freedom now based on their power description. Maybe discovering they can never leave would be a sharp reality, but who knows. For now, they're quite clearly happy. Trickster is the character who's maybe having the most fun. He gets to show off his flashy outfits, and the guy is practically laughing or chuckling to himself the whole time. Completely sadistic and definitely enjoying himself. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed, and be sure to drop your own thoughts too down below. Thanks, and goodbye.